The Minor League Mind with Jess Knaster.
So we're excited to jump back into the Minor League Mind for the first time this season. Jess will be joining us at a minimum at least twice a month. And Jess, you know, when we left at the end of season 2, the disarray was starting to kind of make some degree of sense. Now I think we have a pretty good idea where it is or what it is. So what is it?
Well, so it is. What it is something that largely resembles, and of course, it being the future of all baseball that is not Major League. And I couldn't come up with a great name for that umbrella, but it is the umbrella that on top of that little pointy part, that's Major League Baseball. Everything else is underneath it, and so. What it is largely what we expected it to be from the original reporting of the fall of 2019. The teams that were thought of to be on the list, most of them were the ones that ended up losing their affiliations. Thankfully, most of them have found homes elsewhere, and that's kind of, the next few weeks look at it, because it's a show unto itself, I think, if we really dive into everything. But at least in terms of minor league baseball, that's even just affiliated baseball, that's enough. But what it is molded from clay by Rob Manfred and the owners of what they want developmental baseball to look like. And for everybody else, it's going to take some getting used to, but ultimately – it is being crafted in the way that Major League Baseball wants it to be. And it'll remain to be seen over time if it's good, if it's bad, if it doesn't make a difference.
So let's talk about, I think the first question on everybody's mind, because I think a lot of people are just waking up to the story, which is probably how Major League Baseball got away with it, because nobody pays this degree of attention. You, me, and like 7 other dudes that don't own teams paid attention. 43 teams basically lost the game of baseball musical chairs. How are they all shaping up, and what does their future look like?
Well, so 40 going from 160 to 120, and yet 43 teams lost their affiliation. That requires some math that unto itself, and really through the whole process of this. You mentioned that we're not owners, but we pay attention to it. It's amazing, and I think only because of the general blissful ignorance, and not willful, but blissful ignorance of the inner workings of minor league baseball, that has added to why this was so not easy, but why this was able to take place without more of a fight. But ultimately, it's a and then going back to the 43 teams, it's because 3 teams from independent baseball came in, and then there was shuffling all throughout. But basically, as it appeared, the 120 our major league teams got to pick who they wanted. And because there was no contract in place, like that's something to remember, is that the professional baseball agreement expired at the end of September, and then it was Major League Baseball saying, well, we have no contract. Here's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And so major league teams got to pick who they wanted to affiliate with. And by and large, and only by a single margin, the narrowest, are the majority of teams, major league teams, completely unchanged in terms of who their affiliates are. Or at the very least, these were affiliates that were in their system last year, because then you get into the intricacies of it. This is the whole Steve Kornacki at the board with the khakis bit of, what used to be short season is now low A or high A in some places. And so these teams moved around. Anybody who had a team in the Midwest League, which used to be low A, and anybody who had a team in like the Florida State League or the California League that was high A, but they had each of those, they're now swapped. So 16, it can get convoluted, but really at the end of the day, 16 of the 30 teams have new affiliates, and 14 of those 30 are unchanged from before, and at the very least, just one new affiliate in that grouping of 4. So that's kind of the baseline of how it goes in terms of the teams that don't have a seat at the minor league table. There's been rumors of, if Major League Baseball is going to go to 32 in a couple of years, then they might need some of those teams back.
Yeah.
And as of now, only 9 of the 43 don't have a place to play baseball, don't have a league to play baseball in 2021, with only 3 of those either outwardly announcing or just kind of quietly folding up shop and ceasing operations altogether. So that's
and those 3 are the Charlotte Stone Crabs. Now the Florida Fire Frogs, they kind of went out of business, and that was sort of that was kind of known really in some circles for years that they just were not financially sustainable, and the Lancaster Jethawks. So in Charlotte and Lancaster, is baseball dead?
I cannot speak specifically, or at least not as well, to Port Charlotte, Florida as I can Lancaster, because for the next day and a half, that's where I still am. But with the Jethawks, there's a really nice ballpark here, and unlike Florida, the Fire Frogs, whereas their ballpark, they didn't really have one. They played in a couple different places in their last couple years. And as I understand it, in Port Charlotte, they had an older ballpark as well. Lancaster has a really nice stadium, one of the best in the former California League, maybe future again California League. And they lost their affiliation because it believed, never got the official word, but it was believed it was because of the weather, because the wind blows out pretty constantly to right field, straightaway right field, and that it's hard to develop players, both pitchers and hitters, for inflated number reasons, even though elements exist all over. So, but with that never changing, I don't know how much how likely a team is to come back to Lancaster, because that's not going to be any different. The wind is going to be the wind. The Copa identity for the Lancaster Jethawks is El Viento de Lancaster, which is the wind of Lancaster. Yeah. So it's embraced here, and that's just what it is. There's a local radio station that has a spot where they say, "Come to the Antelope Valley Wind Festival on from January 1st to December 31st." So that's just something that's not going to change. And so there's talk that they might, because the ballpark is city owned, there's talk that the ballpark might become something else, revamped into an amphitheater or some other outdoor event venue of some kind, and then of course probably, there's no going back. But yeah, I think there is the chance that baseball as a professional option may be dead in those 3 communities.
And you don't see an option for particularly Lancaster for the collegiate summer league model or independent, just nothing close enough.
There are 2 leagues in this area, or 2 leagues that have footprints in this area. One summer collegiate and one, independent. But since the ballpark is city owned, I think really what would need to take place for that is that, and this is the case with several other communities as well. Several of the 9 who are, looking for somewhere to play in 2021 and beyond. The city owns the ballpark. So if the owners want to stop operations and somebody else wants to come in and say, let's try this league or let's try this league,
got it, they
have to work with the city, and the city has to be willing to do it. Like the mayor here in Lancaster, one of his first reactionary quotes at the news that the Jethawks were not going to be receiving an affiliation from anybody in Major League Baseball for 2021 and potentially beyond is, well, at least we'll get to save $400,000 a year in field maintenance. So if that exists elsewhere, you run into the same problem of, do the owners want to incur the costs of all ballpark operations? Because it is different everywhere, but that is a very real thing that teams will have to deal with if they want, new ownerships would have to deal with if they want to try and resurrect a given community in minor league baseball, affiliated or otherwise.
Yeah, that's definitely a gloomy picture. I guess just to round it out with a little bit of happiness, you are getting ready to move. What are you excited about as far as joining the Senators?
Well, the whole Eastern League, at least that's the name it was, and the AA Northeast
We're going to talk. We're talking league names your next visit, because that's a whole ridiculous thing we got to get into.
But so that whole league has, I think, some really good history. Some of the longest tenured partnerships. Talking affiliations in minor league baseball. The Senators have been with the Washington Nationals organization since 1991, when they were affiliated with the Expos, and there are a few others in the league that have had lengthy partnerships with their given team, with their given parent clubs. And so I think that really helps to strengthen what the community can be, because Harrisburg is about 2 hours from Philadelphia, and so would inherently be a Phillies city potentially, but is also 3 hours from Pittsburgh, so that could be there as well. And yet, who the Senators affiliated with? The Nationals.
The Nationals, yeah.
So I think you find that in all little pockets, like and say like on the other end, Portland, Maine has long been affiliated. The Sea Dogs have long been affiliated with the Red Sox, and the Northeast, especially New England, is Boston anyway. So that's no different. But I think you find more rabid fan bases. You find maybe stronger partnerships, because there is so much in the way of proximity to your parent club, that, and then being able to live in a given area. And then if you get a chance to go see one major league game a year, take a trip into the big city, you might be able to see a former player who you saw up close. Maybe they lived in your house, and now they're playing Major League Baseball. And that really, I think, is strengthened by the proximity of it all. And just to be in a new community is exciting to myself and my wife, because we've lived in a few different minor league communities, and really one constant is they love their team. And that passion is infectious. And we are looking forward to being a part of the Harrisburg community, and hopefully falling in love with the community just as they love their baseball team. And then by proxy, they love us because we're part of the baseball team.
Well, we love you. This is Jess. We got a lot more for the Minor League Mind coming up this season. Thanks, man, so much for jumping on, and good luck on the move. We expect lots of photos as it goes down.
The 6-day drive starts on Wednesday, March 3rd, and ends when we get there.
I'm having a very Oregon Trail moment. Y'all have a good trip.
Thank you. No rivers to ford, thankfully.